good enough to see.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm so blind.
It's okay. I hear when you're over 40, that's when you like struggle to see.
Everything is just downhill after you hit 40.
Pretty much.
How old will you be this year?
At 39 forever.
Okay. Me too.
Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to our latest episode here. I've got Jana with me.
Hi!
And today we're going to talk about the latest Cruise to the Edge that we attended. We were on the latest boat with all of the other proggers and 4-day long progressive rock festival at sea basically, with all the best bands, like at least most of my favorite bands. And we did it last year. We did it in 2024. So we had debated at the end of our last recap of it. We probably couldn't go because we couldn't afford it, but we ended up splurging anyways.
It came for sale, and you texted me and we're like, "It's for sale. Take a look."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Cool, babe. Let's." Talk about when I get home. And then I got home and you're like, I booked it.
Yeah. When the lineup was being announced, I thought it was the strongest band lineup that I'd ever seen for any kind of music festival. So when 20 of my favorite bands are all in one place, bands that most likely I couldn't see otherwise, it was hard to pass up.
Safari was there.
Yeah, that was kind of the clincher for us. Me. Yeah, because I had hoped that they'd be on the previous cruise. Unfortunately, they weren't part of the 2024 lineup, so it was one of the few disappointments, even though we loved that cruise. But seeing them on this one was like the clincher, because that's Jana's favorite prog band, I think we can clearly say, and one of my top favorite prog bands, so that was kind of the clincher.
Yeah.
So.
And then as they continued to add bands, they added DMJ, which was another one for me that was like, okay, everything's fine. That was
the one thing I was worried, because I was worried Neil Morse wasn't announced in any band in the initial announcements. And so I was like, oh, it's going to be kind of a bummer if my favorite artist isn't involved. I just figured he's always involved in some capacity. But luckily, they announced him as part of the lineup later.
Buyer's regret for
a little
long time. And should we cancel it? We should cancel it. We should try and resell it. And then they announced that DMJ was going to be there. We're like, okay, it's fine.
Because it was a big year for us financially. We bought a house. We have a couple other upcoming things. But
all the things that come with a new house. So.
I calculated the numbers and made sure it made sense. And
so whether or not we go next year is still up for debate until it comes out and I come home and you've booked it.
Right.
Which, I'm never going to complain about that.
Yeah, so. I'm leaning to not doing it, but I said that in the previous one and then went ahead and did it. So we'll see how much that holds. Yeah. I mean, I'd love to do it anytime because I love the experience, but you have to consider the financial impact and the logistics of us traveling and getting there and there's other vacations and trips we want to do as well.
Yeah.
I hate to make all our trips about progressive rock. I feel like that's very self-centered of me to do that. But
I still want to do an Alaskan cruise sometime.
Yeah. So we'll see.
That could be a cool prog rock venue, right?
Interesting.
An Alaskan cruise.
I don't know. I think a lot of artists would not like that as much.
A much longer flight for everybody.
Be a bit cold out there on the pool stage.
That's all right. We wrap up.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna start with some kind of overview,
general thoughts about it,
thoughts that we had, and then dial down into kind of more specific day by day kind of thing.
Generally speaking, I thought it was fantastic. I thought that it was so fun and so just a delight to be there every single day. It was exhausting because it is exhausting to go to concert after concert after concert. Especially if you're more of an introvert type of person, or you just like a quiet space every now and then. So there are moments like that are hard to find sometimes, but but it was just so great and wonderful, and I just had a blast.
Yeah.
So.
And like you're saying, I made it pretty clear on the channel that I have a fair bit of anxiety and I'm very much an introvert. And so a big social event like this is a little bit scary for me. And it's a lot of people in a smaller space. But thankfully everyone's super nice that we met and very kind. And, I'm able to kind of find the right seat, the right spot that kind of works for me. And we can retreat to our room when we're feeling a bit like overwhelmed or overstimulated and stuff.
Yeah.
So, we find the balance. For me, I know a lot of people are like, you got to see every band after band after band.
I can't.
But for me, I think it's important we have a balance of like, we want it to feel like a relaxed cruise vacation, but also a progressive rock festival at the same time. Like, figure out how to balance those two modes. And I think it's possible if you kind of figure out the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And I think we did pretty well with that this year. So
yeah, I think so.
And I felt like it was a little bit better than the previous cruise, honestly. I mean, they were both excellent in their own ways, but I just felt like this one had less hiccups. Everything was very well scheduled and on time, beyond a couple of things out of people's control.
That's one of our hot topics, is the schedule of bands and on-time performances.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
That's okay. We can jump right into, we have a list of hot topics. And so one of them was the schedule of bands, is that compared to last year, this year's cruise, everything was on time. Like, everything started within 5-10 minutes of when it was supposed to start. And it made it so much better as a fan and as a viewer and as someone who was on an exhausting cruise. Like, I don't want it to be known as the exhausting cruise. That's not what I mean. But like, for people who might be older, who may not be able to stand in line for 45 minutes, or they need seats. We'll talk about seats later.
Right.
Like it really helped that, like, everything opened on time. You could predict when you were going to need to be in line for something, or you could get into a venue okay. So it was, I appreciated that a lot, that everything went on time. I know there were some conflicts with scheduling, and they made some changes right before, after they released the band schedule. But we didn't have too many conflicts.
No.
Like, I only got to see Moon Safari once.
Yeah, there's a couple unavoidable, because there's
dying inside
30 plus bands, and it's impossible to see every one. And some you want to see twice because pretty much every band has 2 different slots on the ship. And so some of your favorite bands you want to see twice. A lot of times they do different set lists for each show.
Yeah.
So we would have loved to see Moon Safari a second time, but it was up against our main theater show of seeing Big Big Train, which is another huge show that we wanted to make sure to see. So, it's, you do the best you can trying to fit everything in. There's different factors you have to play with, because there's one venue, the Spinnaker Lounge, that's not our favorite, that we tend to not get great seats and you can hardly see the band. And so we kind of try to plan it so we avoid that as much as possible. It's unavoidable in some ways. There's certain bands that pretty much only played there, so we had to make that sacrifice. But we much prefer the theater and the pool stage, because they're just bigger venues that hold more people. You can definitely see the band. There's no bad seats or bad placement of where to go. You can always see the band very clearly.
Yeah. Speaking of the venues, the pool stages is subject to weather. So that was one of the hot topics I thought this year was the weather. The first day was super windy.
Yeah, there was a lot of wind. Honestly.
They closed down the upper deck because of it, and they didn't have the screen up during that day behind the pool stage band. So super windy.
Yeah.
And then the next day or the day after, super hot because there was no wind. And so during that first Moon Safari performance, it was like 1,000 degrees. It was
really hot.
It was so hot. And then the last night we got rain, and right at the very end of the DMJ performance, it started to sprinkle. They started wrapping everything up, and it caused Temec to be rescheduled and put in the atrium, which caused conflict for us because we were expecting to see Temec during that time.
Yeah.
But then they moved it to when our big train thing was. So, so we only caught the end of Temec's, which was disappointing because we met the guy from Temec and he was on our floor and he was very, very nice and he knew Nathan. So
yeah, that was probably the one major disappointment, which of course it's no one's fault. It's just the weather happened. Was that we weren't able to see Temec when we initially wanted to at that pool stage. And they, like she said, they moved it to when our Big Train show was. And I couldn't, Big Train is one of my all-time, top 5 favorite bands. Yeah. So I couldn't justify not going to that show, So we only caught like the very tail end of Temec in the atrium. It was so packed and crowded and like we could only see them from like the sideline and, barely had a view of it. But
you'll see it in the video, the cruise footage. We have like a 4.5 hour video.
Yeah, that's kind of like the accompaniment to this.
It should go out when we're filming this. It should go out today, which when this video comes out was yesterday. So,
so it should already be out.
It should be out. So Temec's at the very end, and it's like the worst.
Yeah, we did what we could. The
worst view. It was so packed in there.
Yeah, which is great for them. I've heard a lot of people say that was one of their favorite shows because of the energy and just everyone was really excited. And
the main singer was like out in the crowd.
Yeah, he was out in the crowd and
out and up the stairs and like
perfect,
we saw a lot of that like through other people's videos and then saw some of it ourselves too. So Frederick Klemp.
Yeah,
I wrote his name down because he's one of the people who recognized you. So that was another like thing that was a hot topic for us, like a reoccurring theme, I guess I should say, was that people recognized Nathan, and I thought that was very, very sweet. Everybody was so nice.
Yeah.
We had a few musicians who recognized him. So, including the Temec lead singer Frederick. Alberto from Big Train, he was super, super nice. I went over and talked to him and I said, that's my husband over there. He's too shy to come over. And so he came over to Nathan and like, hey, I know you. So that was really, really cool. Ross Jennings knew who we were. Yeah. He came up to us after the pre-party, the pre-cruise conference. And he's like, I don't know if you remember me, but I met you last year. I'm like, yeah, that's how we know you, because we met you on the cruise last year.
No, because he's one of the big stars of the cruise.
And he was so nice.
Yeah.
Again, we had a little chit chat with him, and some of the associates from Kairos, there was a couple people working with Kairos who recognized us. As well, and then a bunch of just like viewers. You guys were so great and so nice, like constantly coming up and talking to us and saying thank you for the channel. So we appreciate that. We appreciate you. A couple people said from our cruise video last year that because of the recap that we did, like they went on the cruise. They went on the cruise this year because of what we talked about last year. So if this video like makes you want to go on the cruise, wonderful. If you have a rotten time, that's not our fault. But we always thought, oh well, if we've got a couple people telling us that, they should give us a commission. $1 for every person who goes on the cruise that we convinced.
We'd have $3.
We've had $3.
No, but it was really super nice. I really appreciate everybody. If anyone's like happens to watch this, thank you for coming up to us and being so kind. I talk about my social anxiety, but it's really helpful when people are just super kind. And I'm always very open to having people come up and greet us and stuff. So never feel afraid to come approach us. We always appreciate it. And it was a thrill for me, of course, these heroes of mine, these musicians, to recognize me or at least be willing to come up and take a picture or talk to me. And so it was really cool. That's one of the great benefits of the cruise, is getting to be close to the artists, other fans who feel similarly about the music as you. It has that community feel. And even for someone who's kind of an introvert, it's still very welcoming, and people are super kind. And I came away just very happy and felt very good about like, okay, I'm having a small impact with my channel. There's a core group that's notices what I'm doing and is happy to see me out in the wild. So I thought that was cool.
It's rare.
It's rare, yeah. Rare sighting.
To see this creature out in the wild.
I'm usually hiding away in my house, but every so often.
Cold, dark house. That's what we love.
Yeah, that's our favorite. So, that was a really neat experience.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Other hot topics. We got 3 left.
Okay.
The most mundane one was the dining room versus the buffet.
Yeah.
This trip we discovered the dining room downstairs, and we didn't do the buffet once.
Yeah.
So I thought it was interesting what you said when we were there. You said, the buffet would be faster, but as you said, there's a balance. And so this is also a vacation for us to spend together. And so going to the dining room and having a dedicated time, dinner time or lunchtime where we sat together, got fine dining, essentially. It's fine dining when they put the napkin on your lap. So, but it was all good food. It was good. It was nice service, and it was dedicated time that we could spend together. So I think I only went to the buffet once and brought back breakfast for us, and that was it.
Yeah.
So otherwise, we didn't do the buffet. I know there's I remember seeing in last year's comments, people were like, "Oh, we're just there for the music, and so we just go and grab a baggie full of chicken from the..."
Yeah, they just stuff food in their pockets and run to the next show.
And I'm like, there's... Okay. That's not
just not our style.
Not
yeah.
our style. So.
It's dependent on what you want out of the experience. For us, we like more relaxed, break to have dinner together and for it to feel calm and a little bit separated from the chaos of the going to these big crowded concerts and things. So for us, it worked really well. And it's really cool that it's included in the cruise and you could have this fine dining, nice meal. Because there are specialty restaurants also that you could pay extra for, which are super nice too.
Oh, yeah.
We did one with friends that we have on the cruise, and then we did one just the two of us that was really nice. So those are well recommended too. But, if you don't want to pay the extra, it's a nice, great experience in the dining room. Yeah. Usually not too badly crowded because everyone's...
we got in every single time.
Going off to different shows and, busy with other stuff. So it may get a little crowded at dinner, but not to a point where you can't get in or something.
Yeah. Next, metal versus prog.
Yeah. I just feel like this lineup skewed maybe more than previous lineups. I don't know. I'd have to really look at it. But it felt like there was a lot of prog metal and kind of newer prog bands. Of course, Haken, who's been a staple of many lineups, are leaning towards metal. But you had Caligula's Horse, who even had a brief mosh pit during their concert that we watched. So that was pretty heavy. What were some of the other heavier ones? Pure Reason Revolution has a bit of a metal edge to them. I felt like there was a couple others.
Yeah.
Timic is a bit on the heavier end as well.
And this leads into the discussion. The last hot topic is sitting versus standing.
Yeah. Yeah, because we noticed for certain concerts on the pool stage, they put out chairs in the main pit area.
Right in front.
Right in front of the...
They've never done that before.
Yeah, before usually that's just kind of an open area.
Standing area.
And people just stand there and watch the concert. And so it kind of depended on the band and the circumstance, if they had the chairs out or not. For some of the heavier, younger bands, they like to just move the chairs away and let people just be active and headbang and dance to the music. And, and then for some of the more older, more established acts like IQ, it was all seated. They put seats out and everyone sat. So I know some people probably felt different sort of ways about it.
Strongly. People feel very strongly about sitting versus standing.
Yeah, at concerts.
And I think, honestly, I think you should let the bands decide because they know the type of energy that they need. And so we understand being able to stand for a whole concert and being able to be right up in front and rocking out. Wonderful. I am firmly a sitter just because I'm old and out of shape, and so I know that I need a chair. But I don't want to stop anybody else's enjoyment of the concert, so I like the idea of having sitting in one place and standing, right in front of the band, because the standing folks, the pit does like make the band more energetic and more excited, and so it makes for a better performance. And so I think you should let the bands decide and let them figure out what they want, and
like especially out in the pool stage, you can usually, even when there's no chairs in the main pit, they have chairs kind of off to the sides, so you can still, if you get there early enough, you can find a seat and like see it from that view, or you can go up to the upper deck and try to find a seat like along
seating all
the
around
edge.
the edge.
So there's ways to find seats if you're not a stander.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see why certain bands, they feed off that energy, and it's really exciting and works way better for certain concerts. And so I can see why. So yeah, to me, the ideal setup for a concert is like having the best of both worlds, having a pit, a front area where people can stand and be energetic and do that, and then kind of seats in the background where if you need the seat because you just can't stand that long or for whatever reason, then you can do that too. Because I just like to kind of sit back and enjoy the concert, like just let the music wash over me. I'm not a very active like person who wants to dance and jump around and do all that kind of stuff. It's just not my personality, it's just not my style. But I don't want to tell other people they can't do that, because obviously that's how a lot of people enjoy their concerts. So, if you could find a balance and just be mindful of people around you. If everyone else is sitting, maybe you should sit too during that one.
It's on it's on one of my videos. Yeah. That you could see the security guard telling some lady in the front row to like down. Sit down. Which I don't know that I liked that so much, because she was just enjoying the concert. But if I was sitting right behind her, I would have appreciated that. I think it's such a hard thing, and I think it's concert by concert. And I really appreciated that there were chairs there right in front during the Moon Safari concert, because the Moon Safari concert was like I said, it was 1,000 degrees. Yeah. I would not have been able to stand. I would have passed out. Yeah. And so, because it was just really, really hot. I was just sitting there and I was having trouble. I had to go get water like several times. It was a thing. But I appreciated that I could sit like so close and see the band like right there and have like such a good view of all my new best friends. So that was the other ones that I met. Peter and Simon from Moon Safari. I met them both. One on the tender boat, and then the other on the airport. On the way home, I bugged him at the airport. I felt bad, but he was super nice.
Yeah, they're great guys. Like everyone we came across was super nice.
Everybody was so nice, kind, gracious, and
I met like all the Prog Report guys as well. Roy and Vic and
they were great.
Dan. All those guys were there and were very nice to me. So very cool.
So hot topics. I tried to whistle right now. That's that. Okay, so I know we'd spent like already 20 minutes doing
we'll have to like be super quick now.
Yeah, well, we've talked a lot about,
or else it's gonna be like an hour long video.
We flew in on Wednesday, so 2 days before the cruise was to embark, and we stayed at the Hyatt Place Miami. It was fine, but I'll probably have us stay somewhere different next time, because there was no shuttles to the airport, to or from the airport, or to or from the cruise port, and it was fine, but no, not many amenities at the hotel itself, but the next day we did hang out at the pool all day, so the pool was nice.
Yeah, the pool was good and not very crowded, so it's kind of nice.
We ended up going next door to the Embassy Suites for dinner.
Yeah, because there wasn't really a restaurant in our hotel. So
they said that they had closed down their kitchen because they had to use the kitchen staff to clean rooms because they were short on staff.
Yeah, it was very short-staffed. So the staff that was there was very nice. They were very helpful to us, but it seemed like they were kind of down a few people.
Maybe they've got like a cold going through everybody or something.
Who knows?
Pre-cruise concert at the Magic City Casino. I liked the venue. I thought it was very, very good.
I had heard in advance that it was terrible, that you'd hear like planes flying overhead constantly. And none of the things that people said really made any impact. Like we perfectly enjoyed it. It was fine. And the bands were great. We started with Kairos, who are one of my favorite newer, like younger bands. And so it was great to see them. They're full of energy and fun. There was a few technical issues, especially with like, I think the lead singer's microphone and like cutting in and out and different things. So it wasn't perfect. And they were kind of like, you know, apologizing and see us on the cruise at the pool stage to kind of, you know, we'll probably have a better time there. So, but I thought they did really excellent and it was really fun.
And then there was David Cross Band after that. Yeah.
And that was really nice. David Cross like plays like violin, and I think he's worked with King Crimson in the past, so they played some like King Crimson stuff. You know, I'm not the biggest King Crimson guy, but I thought it was really nice how they did it and some really cool, interesting performances.
And then Neil Morrison, The Resonance, which is great.
Yeah. That was like the main reason.
They were amazing.
We attended.
We changed we were planning to fly in on that Thursday instead. Yeah. But when we found out they were going to be there, then we flew in on Wednesday instead. So.
Yeah. And they were excellent. Like, and it was only like their second show as a band together. So that they did so incredible without having played a lot before was really remarkable. And I just really loved how the Resonance, the rest of the band just really picked up the slack and had a lot of character and were just really excited and had a lot of great moments.
There was an issue with his keyboard. Kind of like something was lost in the keyboard, and so they actually had a delay, and so they just all jumped in and started playing a song.
AC/DC Thunderstruck. Because I think the Resonance guys, they're all part of like a cover band together, and so they knew some covers, and they just started jamming and playing that stuff while Neil was kind of working out his keyboard problems. Yeah. And then Neil came out and joined them and like did a small rendition of Highway to Hell, which especially funny because Neil's so like spiritual and all about like, you know, religion and Jesus.
Yeah. And so he spoke about it. We went to the worship session on the cruise, and he spoke about that. Like it was, he said the technical issue was one of his worst issues that he's ever had. Yeah. You know, preparing for or during a performance, and you know, he's not sure where that came from, but everybody enjoyed it a lot, so it was fun.
They did great, and that's what I mean when I say I'm impressed by the band that they were able to hold that together while Neil was having his issues. And, you know, I'm sure Neil, I mean, even said it in his worship service that he was very frustrated and it was hard for him to like get back into the spirit of it because he was worried about like his keyboard the whole time. Like, is it going to break again, or, you know, am I going to get through this song? So
I think oftentimes when performers feel like they've had a mediocre performance, the audience never knows. Yeah, like we're having a good time, and so if you're a performer, you know, just relax, shoot for a mediocre performance. We're still gonna love it. Sure. So next day was Embarkation Day. Sure. I don't feel like the check-in was as smooth as in previous years. It was like through a different terminal, and the last year's terminal was much nicer. And
it was a little confusing because they like called the group numbers a little bit out of order, and we weren't sure if our group was meant to go check in yet and stuff. So it was just a little bit like confusing, but you know, we got on there, and it was super crowded once we got into the like main area, so we had to kind of like escape and like find the spot we were meant to be at, and where we meant to have lunch was too crowded and we had to go to a different area.
That's where we went to the dining room.
That's kind of where we discovered the dining
room.
So
really nice. So.
I guess in retrospect it kind of worked out, but at the moment we were a little flustered of like, wow, this
where do we go? What do we do?
A lot
There's
to
too
handle.
Many people.
Yeah.
We don't want champagne, thank you.
Yeah, we don't drink, so we pass on that.
Yeah. But anyway, it was a party atmosphere almost right from the beginning.
But once we got settled in that dining room, we really were happy to be there. And we're enjoying ourselves. So
then we went to Magic Pie, first concert for us. Magic Pie in the Stardust Theater.
Yeah, excellent. They did super well. This was one I was excited for. They have a new album coming out in May. They played a couple tracks from it, and then, you know, played some classics. They played one of their big epics, which was really excellent. So they just were a perfect start to me. I just love their sound. They have this great kind of classic rock mixed with prog vibe that just really worked for like a fun, exciting first show.
Then we went to Saga at the pool stage.
Yeah.
Saga was great.
Saga was great. It's a band I'm less familiar with. I know I'm going to get comments like, how could you not know Saga? But
we can't know everything.
But they're more...
Give us a break.
I believe they were big like in the 80s. They're Canadian. And they had some really great tracks here. Some really energetic and catchy songs. And they were fun. Yeah, I had a lot of fun at this performance. It was a great... because this was like the sail away show while we're sailing away from Miami, so it was really great one for that. I felt because it had a good energy, a positive vibe, and just was really fun.
Yeah. Then we went to dinner with our friends Brent and Cheryl.
Yeah.
Hello. Brent is, what's his channel?
Similitude of Prague.
Similitude of Prague. So go give his
Check
channel.
his out. He'll probably do some kind of review as well.
Yeah. It was Moderno Churrascaria.
Yeah. Brazilian specialty restaurant where they come like deliver meat to your table. You know, they like carve meat off for you, and there's like a little buffet area and stuff. So really great, really fun.
One of the specialty restaurants. Very, very fun just to hang out with our friends and see them at the very beginning. So
yeah.
Then from there we went to the Von Hertzen brothers at the pool stage.
Yeah, which was a great show.
I've so good.
Really fallen in love with them over the past couple years. Their album Red Alert in the Blue Forest. That's not the album I'm talking about. But right there. That's their latest album.
Yeah. And I have been pointing out all the albums that we've been talking about. So,
but yeah, they were surprisingly great. I'd never seen them live before, and they have just so much energy and just this really cool rock vibe and spirit.
Fun.
I heard a lot of people saying this was one of their highlights, and a band they didn't expect to be as great as they were. So highly recommend seeing them live if you ever get an opportunity. It's just really fun.
Yeah.
And they played stuff from like throughout their catalog, and it was great.
Then Car Mechanic at the Spinnaker.
Yeah, which... This was probably one of the disappointments. It was similar, like last year I wanted to see Lonely Robot and like could hardly see the stage.
Yeah.
This was kind of a similar vibe. Like I was really excited to see Car Mechanic, but they were only playing in the Spinnaker, and we ended up
That's the worst venue.
Back a ways where I could barely see like Jonas Reingold and like
see through a tunnel.
Casey McPherson, their heads a little bit through a little tunnel between other people in front of me. But I couldn't really see the band at large, but we could hear it, and it sounded fantastic. They were really amazing. It was cool to hear Casey singing with them because he's not typically with Car Mechanic. So it was a cool configuration of like kind of an all-star lineup of musicians, and they played like all the big epic like classic Car Mechanic stuff. They played Send the Message from the Heart. They played their like newest single from their latest album. It was just really fun, really cool.
Yeah, we met a couple at the pre-cruise party the night before, and the wife had bid $800 to introduce a band, and she ended up introducing Car Mechanic, and that all goes to Casey McPherson's charity, To Cure a Rose. So,
yeah, that was cool.
Look that up, To Cure a Rose.org, I'm guessing.
I'm not sure.
But the Cruise to the Edge is firmly behind that cause, and so are we. So, but that was kind of cool that we our new friends did something like that.
We saw them several times throughout the cruise, and it was really cool.
Yeah.
So grateful for them.
Yeah, and then Kairos.
Yeah, Kairos were playing at the pool stage. Yeah, we kind of like stopped and watched them play a little bit as we were kind of moving from one thing to the next, but they sounded excellent and a lot of great energy. They're kind of a unique band for the cruise, so I thought it was really great to have them because they have this kind of like 80s like electronica kind of vibe, and they're a younger group than a lot of the others on the ship, so I thought it was fantastic having them there. And you know, they've been really kind to me and my reviews of their stuff on the channel, so this Mannequin album is like in my top 3 albums of last year, so I really recommend it. But then we went to see Haken at the Stardust Theater.
They're the
ones you can't see. And they're excellent as always. You know, they played a pretty heavy set of music, and it was really cool. They ended with Visions, their big epic. That was fantastic to see them play that. So they're always on point. Like, they just sound perfect and dialed in every time I see them. So they're one of the best like live bands I think out in Prague right now.
Yeah, they're just amazing live performances. Yeah. All right, that's the end of day one. We are taking too long. We gotta go through this fast.
Sorry.
The next morning, day two, I went to take a Women of Prague photo. We did the Rockstar paint class. Maybe not your thing.
Yeah, I was a little bit intimidated. I'm not really an artist, and it was kind of crowded, and I had my social anxiety a little bit in that one.
I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
But then we went to DMJ at 12, which was amazing.
Yeah, we loved it.
Loved that. Super, super windy. So that was the windy day. Everything on the pool stage that day was just...
Yeah, super windy.
You know, we're our area, like where we live, is very windy, and it was on par with that. So, which is pretty windy. So
yeah, we had to like be careful with our hats, like blowing away in the wind.
Yeah. I like tightened mine, and it still blew off at least once. So, which is on video. So.
But yeah, DMJ was one of the reasons we wanted to go on the. You know, I mean, they were announced a little bit later, but they're one of the acts we were most excited to see, and they didn't disappoint. Just like three of my favorite all-time musicians in progressive rock, and playing some more folky, like fun acoustic music, and it was really great.
I loved it. It's my favorite.
Yeah.
And what's his name came out? Alberto.
Alberto,
our new best friend.
They played June.
Our new BFF.
And brought out Alberto from Big Big Train, so it was just a fun, beautiful time. And they did a cover of, I think it's called, I'm going to sound dumb, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes or something like that.
No, I don't know.
But it's a Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young song. It's like a classic. They did a full-on cover of, which was excellent. So...
we had lunch which is not notable except for the fact that we sat next to Greg Sponton of Big Big Train in the dining room.
Yeah, I noticed that.
We didn't talk to him because you don't bug people when they're eating.
Yeah, I hear that's like the big rule is you don't bother people while they're eating. But I mentioned it to Jana once he like walked off.
Once he left, and I'm like, it's a good thing because I might have like been like, hi, and I'm spoken to. But of course, I have no idea who people are. Just when I'm sitting down, I probably walked by the most famous people all the time and just didn't know. So, Pure Reason Revolution at the pool stage.
Yeah, that was excellent. I was very pleasantly surprised. I loved them. Just full of energy. Had kind of a heavier sound than I was expecting, but really cool. A new band that I've really liked. Yeah, recent stuff. Yeah,
Wheel of Prague.
Yeah.
In the atrium.
We didn't have a great view of it, but it was fun, like
under the stairs.
Listening in. They did like ranked the best prog metal albums of the 90s, and they had members of Caligula's Horse and Haken there, so it was really fun.
Steve Hackett in the Stardust Theater.
That was really good. He's always super solid and just like sounds pristine every song.
Yeah, what do you say about that?
Yeah, it's just perfect.
And then IQ at the pool stage.
Yeah, this was one I was really excited for because never seen them. Probably won't ever have the opportunity to see them unless we go on a future cruise that they happen to be on.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were fabulous. It was a perfect show at night, and I think that was one of the more seated venues.
Yeah, I think that's the one where it was like sit down.
Yeah, because a lot of people were there to see IQ. They were one of the more popular acts, and so some people were just so excited and super into it.
Lady in the front row got up and dancing.
Yeah.
The security guy was like...
But, people really wanted to be able to see it, so they didn't want people blocking the view, I think. So
next day was the day 3 port of call day to Puerto Plata in Dominican Republic. And before we left the ship, we went to the Neil Morse worship service, which was great.
Yeah.
He told some nice stories and played some great songs and had people sing along if they knew the songs, and so that was a really nice experience.
Yeah. Always pleasant.
Then we went to Puerto Plata. We didn't leave that cruise port area, so we just stayed in that spot that is meant for the cruisers. So, which is fine for us. Like we're not very adventurous and like venturing out into a strange city, or an unknown city, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
Is not our cup of tea, so we just stayed in the free amenities in the pool and the everything that they had there, which was so relaxing.
We had
and
lunch.
So nice.
We walked around. We went into the pool a little bit. So we got ice cream. Yeah,
that was really
very nice. And we made it back for Pendragon at the pool stage. I wanted to see them. They were really great. It was cool, because this was the concert that was playing when we were sailing back away from the Dominican Republic, and it was just a beautiful view.
Video of that. So that's in the
so they did great. Once again, solid.
Yeah. Rick Wakeman, he was a surprise for me.
Yeah, this is one of your favorites.
One of my favorites. He was just a one-man show playing piano. And it was amazing, and I loved that so much. Yeah. It was so fun.
He was very funny. He would get up between his, performances and do some banter and really say some funny things. Yeah,
he said this next piece. It's I wrote it to be 4.5 hours long. So I hope you had a wee. But more importantly, I hope I've had a wee. So it was just really funny.
Yeah, he was great.
He was great, and he played just beautifully. Yeah, not a note out of
tune
nothing was missed. He was
he was excellent.
Fantastic. And then that night,
Caligula's Horse at the pool stage.
First concert where there's no chairs.
No chairs in the middle, and
and there was a mosh pit, which the security guards eventually stopped the mosh pit. Like the big security guard that was there, he went through. It was pushing people. Stop it.
But they
didn't want people to get hurt.
They were killing it though. It was
Caligula's Horse
so
was
fun.
Amazing.
They were just excellent on the stage there. A band that I've only recently really got into. I loved their last album, Charcoal Grace, which was in my top 16 last year. So really great performance, just really fun. I like how they have this kind of heavier style, but still very beautiful, almost operatic vocals. It's just really unique sound. Yeah,
symphonic metal prog.
Sure.
Day 4.
Yeah.
Day 4. Moon Safari.
We saw Moon Safari early. We've talked about how hot it was, but they were excellent. They played a great selection. They did their big recent epic, which I was just super thrilled with. We wish we could have seen them a second time. That's one of our big FOMO things. I think that it just didn't work out with our schedule. We'd had to have missed most of Big Train to do that, but we've seen video from it, and we would have loved to be there. Maybe we'll see them on the future cruise or something.
They're my new friends.
I know.
We went to lunch in the restaurant that's above the atrium, so we heard Marvin playing.
Yeah, they play a lot during the cruise. Yeah. They play at least once a day, I think. Yeah.
We did another Wheel of Prague.
Yeah, this one was more about classic 70s prog albums. Yeah. Nick DiVirgilio put Close to the Edge and
Hot Topic.
C tier, which got him booed a little bit.
So somebody said he had never been booed before, and then immediately went out and got booed. He put Cruise to the Edge album ranked pretty low.
Close to the Edge,
yeah. Sorry. Close to the Edge. That's the real name.
Yeah, that's why what Cruise to the Edge comes from is
somebody was like,
Close to the Edge.
The cruise is named after it. How could you rate it so low? And his argument was that there's just so many other good things on the list.
Yeah, it was all the classics. So, you just liked other albums better. But then we went to see Riverside, which always is excellent. They're one of the best bands also. I know I keep saying this, but the
way they ended their show, they right before their last song, they said that they're going to be taking a break, so they're not going to be on the next cruise.
Yeah.
They were on it last year and this year, so we don't know a cruise without them. So, and then the way that they walked off the stage, everybody had their own color, of lights on them, and then slowly one by one they left the stage. It was so it
was really beautifully
moving. It was so moving, and a goodbye, to them. So.
Hopefully not for too long, because I need more music from them, because I love all of their albums so much. But I guess they're taking a bit of a break for a while, so we'll see. I
guess they've earned it.
Yeah.
We'll allow it.
I'm sure they'll do other projects in the meantime. Yeah. So I think more Lunatic Soul is coming, but that's it for another day.
We did another... That was the night that we did our other fancy restaurant.
Yeah, we did the French restaurant, which was really, really nice.
So fine dining and so fancy and so good. And then we did Haken at the pool stage. We saw most of that, but then we went and got in line for Beardfish in the Spinnaker Lounge. So
we wanted to get a good seat since, as we've mentioned, Spinnaker is a little bit spotty. So we thought if we got in there early enough, we could actually have a decent view.
And we had a pretty good view.
Yeah, we did pretty good. Yeah, so I loved this concert. I know it wasn't really your cup of tea, but
it was so good.
I thought Beardfish really killed it because they've been on hiatus for a while. They kind of ended, I don't know, like 10 years ago or so, and just recently reunited and started playing again. They did a recent album that I really love. But yeah, I just thought they were on point. They were just excellent. Everything was really cool.
And then from there, Beardfish went a little long, so we got out a little.
So we got a little late to the next thing.
To Thank You Scientist. Yeah. So this was the one concert that we stood for, but we ended up staying and dancing and
this was excellent.
It was so fun. Thank You Scientist.
Yeah, one of your biggest surprises.
Biggest surprise. They have just a great horn line, and I had. Yeah, it was one that you said, you might not like them.
Yeah, I was worried because I think of them as a bit more avant-garde, a bit more kind of offbeat and a little different, like Frank Zappa-esque, kinda.
They were, but I loved it. I just had such a good time, and they were fun, and they had a great sound, and there was a good energy out there. I just loved Thank You Scientist.
They're one of my favorite modern prog bands. I just absolutely love them and everything they do. They had a new lead singer that this was like his first performances were the 2 cruise performances they did, so quite a way to throw him into the fire and just try him out in this big setting, but did excellent. The whole band was on fire. They're just really fun. They're always dancing and being quirky and funny. And it's just a really great show. It went by like a flash. I was surprised that wow, it's already ending, and I feel like we just got here. So, and that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot,
considering it was the end of the day.
Yeah, and we were standing the whole time. But it just was just so much fun.
Yeah, so much fun. Then the last full day, day 5 here, it was a port of call again to Great Stirrup Cay or Key, and that's the Norwegian-owned island. So we had to go across, go on board a tender boat. You had to get on a small boat to take you inland, and so which was a little rocky. They paused the tender operations for a while because it was, a little uneven. The ship is solid, and then the boat next to it is here, get on, jump,
just go for it. Yeah, it was a little scary.
You don't know me at all. But we made it. They won't let us die, right?
You wouldn't think.
But the island itself was great. Everything was included because it's the Norwegian-owned island. So,
not everything, not the umbrellas. I'm just kidding.
The food was included. So, and I'm sure you had to pay for all the things that you normally pay for, drinks and whatnot, and umbrellas. So we opted to get an umbrella and rent an umbrella. So it made just for a really nice, relaxing, quiet time. The beach was beautiful and quiet and calm, and very nice swimming in the ocean, and seeing little fish all in the water next to us. So
I felt this was important to have kind of a more laid back day after all the concerts and busier days. So we spent quite a bit of time just kind of relaxing throughout this day. Our first concert wasn't till 5:30 when we saw the second DMJ show. So we took a lot of time resting.
Yeah, and because we were renting the umbrellas, there weren't a lot of other people doing that, so we were kind of on our own there, and so it was just really nice to have a nice, quiet, calm space to,
for sure.
It was nice. Got back on the tender that's where I met.
Where you met the Moon Safari guy, Peter
Sandstrom.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very nice, and he took a selfie with me. I'm gonna put all the images as we go.
Pictures into it.
Yeah, incorporate pictures into this. So he was super, super nice. And there were a couple people on the little tender boats that we saw. We saw Randy George there, and
I saw some of the Caligula's Horse guys on there. I think maybe guys from Timmick, I think, were on there, or Diego. So, just fun just seeing random people as you're just wandering around.
Who you're going to bump into.
Yeah.
I started, like, taking selfies with famous people in the background. Band people in the background. So, we'll see if I can get some of those up somewhere posted, but we'll see.
Yeah.
They're not all the best pictures. So it's like, this smudge right here in the background, that's Rick Wakeman. Trust me. Then we got back on the ship. We went to DMJ, which was not as windy, so my videos are a little bit better this time. During that performance, though, I will say, like, I think halfway through that performance, a bunch of the green laminates left.
Okay, yeah.
And so, like, all the seats opened up in front of us.
Yeah.
And, like I waved to Ross Jennings, and he just went... like to us, and like I waved again to like Alberto when he came on because he did the guest spot again, and he like pointed right at us, and I'm like,
it's probably just coincidence.
No, they're my best friends now.
Oh, okay, sure.
And they really were saying hi to us. I know it.
Okay, sure thing.
I know it. And then we did not do Temec that night.
No, they got canceled because right at the end of DMJ's show, it like started sprinkling, and you could tell like the storm was coming in.
They started covering.
So yeah, they were really quickly like running off the stage and covering up all the equipment, and so we went to have dinner, and we weren't sure if the Temec show was going to be on or not. So when we went back up to the pool stage, they said, it's been moved to the atrium at 10:15, so we weren't going to be able to see it.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate because their rescheduled time was right during our Big Train show, which was kind of our big final show of the night. So we weren't really able to see Temec. We went to Big Train and saw like the very tail end of Temec, but it was so packed in there, we barely had a view of them. Yeah. If you see our footage, you'll see that, a very limited view.
I had taken some image of the lights in the atrium because I thought they were really cool. And so there was like I had like no view for a second, for like 45 seconds in the Temec concert. And so like I just put the image of the lights there while the music is still playing.
You're right.
So,
but Big Train was amazing, as you would expect.
He pointed right at you.
Sure.
That is on video.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see if the people agree.
It's there. Because Alberto came up the aisles, and we were sitting right on the aisle, and he pointed like right at Nathan, because he knows him. He's our best friend now. So
sure.
But Big Train was amazing.
Yeah.
They had such an array of instruments. They all were switching spots and
different ways to arrange the songs and different instruments. Alberto played, not only was the lead singer, but played keyboard and guitar and was on drums even for a track. So it was just really cool to see the talent on board.
Multi-talented.
They're all multi-instrumentalists. It's like an all-star band. They're people from different places in the world, and they're from different prog bands. Super group of prog, for sure. Super group. And I love Beneath the Mask, that they played that whole epic. It was fantastic.
Is that the one I recorded?
Yeah, you recorded
I recorded an entire epic. I think you couldn't hear it in the video, but like at the beginning, I'm like, I'm going to record this one. Should I record this one? You're like, yeah, record it. I'm like, okay, how long is it? And you said like, oh, it's one of their epics.
Yeah.
Like,
it's long. Oops. Sorry.
So I'm like, I'm committed. So I recorded the whole
You didn't have to do the whole epic, but...
No, I wanted to. Well, I was committed. But they were amazing.
Yeah.
I use amazing too much, but it's true. Amazing.
Sure.
And then we crashed.
Yeah.
In bed.
We mentioned the little bit of Temec we saw, and then, we were up in bed,
Temec was feeding off the crowd so much. Yeah. That was really cool.
Really cool. Cool. Yeah. But we wanted to get to bed because they kick you off the boat,
you got to be out of the room
super early. They don't, let you linger at all, so...
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure we got some good rest.
Yeah.
For our big travel day the next day, where we did... What, three different
flights to get home, to get across the country.
It was a bit much. We might amend it slightly.
We'll do it different next year.
So it was a big day. A lot of jet lag once we got home. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And then Is that it? That's it,
I think that's pretty much it.
Aw.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Thoughts as we're like almost reaching the hour mark.
Yeah, it was like 38 minutes. That's our goal.
That's our goal. No. We can't go more than that. Yeah, I just thought this was an excellent experience. I'm always nervous to go on these things because of the social aspect, and sometimes a lot of travel is kind of nerve-wracking for us, trying to arrange everything and make sure we're going to make this flight and do this thing.
I get travel anxiety, so I get really, really super nervous when I'm traveling.
Yeah.
Once I did like that I could like track my luggage and see like where it was, and it's been loaded onto the plane. It's been unloaded. you know, like I thought that was kind of cool. So that kind of helped me. Yeah. You helped me a lot all day. Like I watched movies during the flight because that just takes the time. To go and do that, and it was all good.
We each had our moments of like anxiety, and
I think between the three of us, we only had 3 anxiety attacks. So
right, that's fair.
Between the 3 of us,
our third companion, indecision.
His indecision. That was our running joke. So only 3 panic attacks. That's okay.
The main point I'm making is that even despite all of that stuff, it was still well worth it. It was still one of the most memorable experiences. I'm sure we'll be talking about this for the rest of our lives, for many years to come. I think this topped the previous years, maybe because we knew what to expect a little bit better and we could plan a little bit better for it. And we found out new things this time that could even help us if we go on a future cruise. So, really excellent. We loved all the bands. I thought this lineup was as strong as I could possibly imagine.
It was a really good lineup for me, who's not necessarily the most knowledgeable prog fan. I know like my favorite bands were on there. Like my favorite bands are Yes. Did we have either one of those guys from Yes?
Rick Wakeman, right? From Yes. Yeah.
We had a representative from Yes. Couldn't remember. We had and then Moon Safari, of course, and then DMJ, which are my favorites. So they didn't play my favorite song, which I wanted them to.
I'm sorry. They played it at the other show we didn't catch, but sorry. Can't have everything your way. And that's the other thing you have to realize going on the cruise is that you're going to miss out on things,
Yeah, you're going to...
And you just have to be okay with it. I wish we could have seen the Aristocrats. I've heard they were excellent. There's several acts, Jazz Sabbath, Trifecta, tons of things, Gazpacho, that I would have loved to see, but we just couldn't squeeze in and find the time to.
You can't see everything.
Luckily, I'm catching them on other people's YouTube videos and stuff, but... it's just impossible to be able to see everything. You kind of have to prioritize like the ones that are most important to you, and if you can find room to squeeze other things in, like then that's kind of a bonus. But you can't go in expecting you're going to see every single band on the boat. It's just not really possible.
Pace yourself. Do what you can do. If you can go to every single concert, find a way to do it and stand the whole time and have a pocket full of chicken, then more power to you. I am excited for you.
Everybody's different. You figure out the method that works best for you. We found what works for us, which is a more balanced way of doing it. Some people just want it to be only music and go to concert. They don't want to get off the boat at all. They don't want to take long dinners. They just want to
Sorry.
No, go for it.
I was going to say, and there's opposite too. There's some people who don't go to any concerts. Like they're there because their spouse is there. You know? And so
they do like a spa day and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's the cool part about the cruise is you choose your own adventure. You get to decide how you want to do it.
It's to choose your own adventure.
And you can see as many bands as you want. You can see only a limited amount. You can just fully embrace the ports. You can do spa days. You can hang out in the casino. Whatever you want to do, you've got options. So great vacation. And I think we're going to have to sign off because we
recommend it
at the hour mark now.
Well, quick, get off before it
hits the hour. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us. Subscribe if you haven't yet.
Like and subscribe.
I do all kinds of prog content, and hopefully you guys appreciated this episode.
Enjoy the music.
Bye, everybody.